So it's incredibly manual. It's also incredibly tedious to have to do this on every subsequent website. You have to type in the same information on every website. Third, checkout on mobile is slow, especially in areas of low connectivity. And as we've seen in some of the sessions talking about the web this week, if it takes more than a few seconds to load a page, there's a very high opportunity for your users to bounce. Yet, it's still the norm to put them through a multi-step, multi-section checkout process that requires lots of taps to complete. So before we talk about how we're trying to tackle these problems and the products we're building to solve checkout on the web, I'd like Ruslan to talk a little bit about what our overall design philosophy is.
Thank you, Alex. Today we're going to show you several demos of how we're going to improve the mobile checkout experience. Throughout our work, we concentrate on two core principles. First, from the standpoint of the user, we want the checkout experience to be as seamless and painless as possible. If you typed in your credit card in the web browser once, you shouldn't have to type it in again. You shouldn't have to type in your information into every website on the internet. Second, from the standpoint of the web developer, you should be able to get all of the information that you need to complete this transaction as quickly and frictionlessly as possible. That means whatever solution we come up with should be straightforward and should be able to integrate into existing products and solutions. So you see, speed is very important to us, and we will address this during our demos.
So keeping in mind these two design philosophies, and also keeping in mind that checkout forms are still today the predominant way of collecting payment from a user, we started thinking, how can we make this experience more pleasant for our users on the web? The answer is with autofill. And autofill is a pretty basic function that's been in Chrome for quite some time. And the way it works is by when you tap on a form, you can automatically fill any information that you've saved to the browser into that form. The best part about autofill is that it just works. The web developer, the site doesn't have to change any part of their code. They can automatically fill the form with any user information that the user has securely stored within the Chrome browser. So going back to our checkout form here, we can see that the first real issue is that it's manual. And autofill solves this by being able to save automatically your information and fill it in without you having to enter a keystroke. Next, it takes this tedious process of having to fill out a checkout form on every new website, and it makes it simple. So this is a real win for users. It really enhances the user experience as I'm going on a mobile website and filling out my information. But what does this actually mean for you? What does this actually mean for sites? What does this mean for developers? We recently conducted a study with the Chrome research team, and we found that autofill actually drove a 25% increase in conversion rates. And this is extremely powerful because you don't have to modify your site at all. If a user comes to your site and they have autofill enabled, they are 25% more likely to complete the checkout form.
So how does autofill actually work under the hood? The process begins when the user saves the information into the browser. This can be done either manually in settings or automatically when the user fills in a form. Next, Chrome will securely synchronize this information across all of the devices where the user is logged in. Finally, Chrome will automatically detect the forms on the web page and fill them in for the user with minimal user interaction. The primary component that makes this work is the autofill server, because form detection works through a combination of client-side heuristics and server-side modeling. This is one of the areas where we have been making great improvements. In fact, today, we have over 95% accuracy for form detection for the top 100 e-commerce websites. The best thing about autofill is that it requires no integration from the website developers. The Chrome does all the work for you. In the rare cases where autofill does not work, we do support autocomplete types to guarantee autofill and get that sweet 25% increase in conversion rates.
OK, so let's swip over and see a demo of autofill in action. So before we see the actual demo, I want to say we've actually collaborated with the Polymer team to create a really awesome site experience that we're going to be showcasing here in addition to autofill. So I'm going to tap in here to my shop. And again, this is the Polymer, part of the Polymer toolkit. It's the e-commerce shop experience. And since it's so much colder this morning, I'm going to shop for a little men's outerwear. This neon, what do you think, Ruslan, about this nylon jacket?
It will look good on you.
So I'm going to add it to my cart. So I want to point out that up until this point, it's been a really amazing experience. I've got to browse an amazing catalog of Google products, but I now encounter the part of the e-commerce experience that I dread. I'm going to have to fill out my entire credit card information, my shipping address, and my billing address. There's got to be a better way. As you can see, this is a pretty nice design form, but it doesn't get around the fact that I'm going to have to manually type this in. But as you see with autofill, I'm able to tap into the form and automatically fill in my information. It immediately is filled into the form. And if I happen to have a separate billing address, I could also fill that in. And then finally, just like the addresses are securely stored, my credit card information is also securely stored with the browser. So I'm going to fill in my MasterCard here. Now, the one piece that autofill doesn't save is the CVV of your credit card. So for security purposes, you're still going to need to enter this into the site. So you see, I placed my order. It was done. It was simple. Let's flip back to the slides. Great. Autofill is amazing. This is a product that I use myself almost on a daily basis, and it really simplifies the process of going through a web form today. I also want to point out that we're continuously launching improvements to autofill to make it faster and more available to more users on Chrome. But autofill, again, is tied to existing form infrastructure. We use web forms as essentially the tool by which we're passing the user's payment and shipping information back to the website. So because of this, there are some key limitations. First, we can't solve the latency problem. We can't make the page load faster with autofill. And secondly, as you saw in the demo, it still takes multiple sections, multiple taps to get through a checkout process and actually submit my order. So going back to our two design principles, we wanted to start thinking beyond autofill. And it led us to the idea that maybe the best way to solve checkouts was not simply to improve on the checkout form, but to actually completely eliminate the checkout form. So I want to go through a quick exercise here, and I want everyone to close your eyes and imagine a world without checkout forms. This isn't a rhetorical exercise. I actually want everyone to close your eyes and just imagine a world without checkout forms. So what does this mean? For users, this means that when I find something I want to buy, I can just tap and buy it. I don't have to go through a complicated process of re-entering all the same information. What does this mean for sites, for developers, for merchants? It means that you can focus on creating an amazing and engaging experience for your users and not have to worry about creating a checkout process, not have to worry about optimizing that checkout process. We're really excited to bring you the Payment Request API, which is the way that we're going to make this formless world a reality. Payment Request is a JavaScript API that allows the browser to handle the heavy lifting of payment collection. The result is a simple one-tap experience for the user and an easy way for a site to receive and request payment. Our goal with Payment Request is to create an open API, so no matter what browser, what device, what platform, or what payment method you choose, you'll never have to enter another checkout form.
The Payment Request API is currently under development in the W3C Web Payments Working Group. Our goal is to create a universal cross-browser standard for any website to accept any form of payment. There are three key points to keep in mind when thinking about payment requests. First, this is not Chrome-only, Google-only, custom proprietary API. No. This is a cross-browser, standards-based effort where we are collaborating with other browser vendors and members of the developer community in order to define something that any browser should be able to implement. Second, we're targeting mobile platform first because this is where we can solve the biggest problem. But the payment request API is designed to be extensible and will be available on other platforms as well. Third, our goal is to create an open ecosystem. Any website should be able to accept any form of payment that they desire without the need for complicated custom integration points. So we're excited to announce that Chrome has an implementation of payment request today for you, the developers, to try. We expect other browsers to be implemented soon. Shout out to Microsoft in particular. They have been a great partner in the W3C Web Payments Working Group.
So let's go back for a second to our checkout form. So just like with autofill, we take this manual and tedious process and we make it simple. In fact, in our implementation that we have that we're going to show you today in Chrome, we actually are using the same data that the users already saved to the browser through autofill, and we're exposing that data to the payment request API. But what makes this even faster is that rather than relying on the checkout form, we pass it directly via this open API. We're also able to reduce latency because Chrome is rendering the payment collection UI natively. So you don't have to render a complicated checkout form that takes several seconds to load. So payment request is extremely fast. What this all amounts to is taking a multi-step, multi-section, long checkout process and makes it truly one tap.
Let's take a look at how payment request works. The process begins when the website passes to the browser information necessary to negotiate this payment. This information includes, for example, how much is being charged, what is in the shopping cart, so the browser can present it. Most importantly, this information includes what are the accepted payment methods on this website. The browser then determines the intersection between the website's accepted payment methods and what the user has installed on their device. The browser presents this UI to the user, where the user can select their preferred method of payment and authorize this transaction explicitly. A payment method can be anything as simple as a credit card stored in autofill or a third-party application that you and I can write that would provide the payment to the website. Once the user authorizes the transaction, Chrome invokes this payment app, gets the response back, and passes it directly back to the website. From the standpoint of the website, the only thing that happened is a single JavaScript call that retrieved all of the information that the website needs to process the transaction. Let's actually take a look at the code of how you would implement this. The W3C members are working really hard to make this API as simple as possible while still passing in all of the information required to negotiate the transaction. The code that you see is how it is implemented today in Chrome developer version. The W3C is continuously evolving this API based on the feedback from merchants and website developers. So please participate in the process and give us your feedback. We would appreciate it. There are several parameters that you need to specify for payment request. The first two are required. The first one in particular is the list of payment methods that this website accepts. For the legacy case of credit cards, which is what we're showcasing here, you would pass in the credit card types. The second parameter are the shopping cart contents and possibly the shipping options. Finally, we're showing here the third parameter, which is optional, which specifies that this website is indeed selling physical goods and would like to request the shipping information from the user. Remember, our goal is to pass in to the website all of the information that the website needs to process the transaction.